In my previous videos, I presented undeniable evidence of life after death and explained where we go afterward. I also clarified what dreams truly are and revealed the tragic consequences faced by those who take their own lives even after death. Additionally, I shared several of the many NDE stories I have gathered over more than 20 years of researching the phenomenon of death and life beyond the material body. If you haven't watched those yet, I encourage you to click on the name of my channel and visit the Videos tab, where you can find all the content I have created so far. In this episode, however, I plan to answer some of the questions I have received from you. There are quite a few of them now, so I will try to create additional videos based on these questions. Please understand and be patient, as creating these videos is quite time-consuming. I will start with the questions that are most frequently asked. Let me remind you that you can ask your questions not only via email, but also in the comments below the videos. Thank you very much for all of them. So today I will attempt to answer the question, what is the purpose of our life, and do we have a mission or work to accomplish here? Let's begin. Surely each of you has asked yourself or others such questions many times. You've probably also heard various answers to them. People absorbed in material, earthly matters, especially so-called materialist atheists, will unhesitatingly say that the purpose of life is to indulge in luxury surrounded by family and friends, spending time pleasantly, pursuing their passions, traveling, or partying. In short, to take full advantage of this material reality, striving to feel happiness as often as possible. However, this is not our true purpose. Although these pursuits do not necessarily prevent us from achieving it, it's enough to approach them with wisdom and balance. I've mentioned this in a previous episode about living in luxury. Other people, those more spiritually inclined, have a completely different opinion about the meaning of life. They believe our purpose is to be the best person we can be, so that after death, we reach some heavenly realm. For them, living according to the principles of their religion is often very important. This perspective on the meaning of life is much closer to the truth. After all, being a good person can only bring benefits. Focusing not only on material reality but also on spiritual aspects allows us to more easily and quickly discover the true purpose of our earthly existence. Still, others claim that we are, in essence, spiritual, non-material beings who incarnate into physical bodies to experience material life and learn and grow. Earthly life, they say, is like a school for souls. Some argue that before incarnation, we can plan our lives ourselves, while others believe that someone else plans it for us, aiming for our development or creating a life for us based on the actions we performed in a previous life. Thus, one could conclude that without this school, souls would remain underdeveloped, immature, or incomplete in some sense. In the accounts of people who have experienced NDEs, it is often said that even though they feel at peace in the non-material world they reach after leaving their body, they still want or need to return to Earth because they have unfinished tasks or missions. These tasks seem to be part of the life plan created before incarnation. But do we truly have to complete these tasks? Are they really so important or even mandatory for us? Are we really undeveloped souls that can only become whole beings through successive incarnations in the material school of life? Based on my over 20 years of research into life after death and my own experiences during out-of-body journeys, I can confidently say no. While it is true that living in a material body allows us to gain experiences that cannot be acquired as a non-material being in non-material worlds, it is not true that we would remain undeveloped without them. Such a perception arises from incarnation amnesia, which accompanies us not only during successive incarnations, but also in the intervals between them, when we are already in non-material worlds. The longer we stay in those worlds, the more we regain the memory of who we truly are and what reality really looks like. The problem lies in the fact that for most people, successive incarnations follow each other too quickly due to various attachments to the material world and the perceived need to complete tasks we believe we must fulfill. This deepens our incarnation amnesia, and the suffering we experience in material worlds weakens and suppresses our immense spiritual potential. The truth is that we come here as developed, non-material beings from a world I call the true home, to experience what we cannot there. This includes life in a material body with all its flaws and advantages. While there is nothing wrong with undergoing such experiences, which can indeed enrich us, the problem arises when we become overly saturated with suffering and unable to overcome the incarnation amnesia that obscures the true knowledge of reality in ourselves. This also prevents us from returning to our true home. So returning to the question about the purpose of our current earthly life, I would say that it is precisely to return to the place from which we came. Someone might ask, what about those who arrived here recently and have only had a few incarnations? Can't they simply continue to experience more? Of course they can. Our Creator, whom I refer to as the primordial source, has given each of us free will. Therefore, neither I nor anyone else can force anyone to return. However, it is worth keeping in mind that it is easy to fall into the cycle of repeated incarnations and incarnation amnesia. Leaving it, on the other hand, is much more challenging. That is why, for those who have become weary of incarnation suffering and wish to return to their true home, I created my publication. You can find the link to it in the description below the video. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to support the growth of this channel, I encourage you to click the thumbs up button and subscribe. And if you would like me to try answering your pressing questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below the video. That's all for today. Thank you for being here, and see you next time.